Well, what do you think?
Oh, I think it'll be fine.
I want to go back to Raleigh. Me too.
Want to know what I think?
What do you think, Nora?
Some shows become legends because they last. Others become quiet mysteries because they do not. The new Andy Griffith Show is one of those softer stories. A brief return, a different town, the same familiar voice trying to find the right porch to sit on. And when the screen went dark in 1971, it left behind not failure, but a gentle reminder. Even the most beloved memories can be hard to revisit, because time keeps rewriting the world outside the frame. Fact number 10. The familiar faces that were not quite Mayberry. When CBS announced the new Andy Griffith Show, many viewers came in carrying a very specific memory. A sheriff's porch, a slow walk down a dusty street, a world where everyone knew your name. The producers understood that longing, and they reached for it carefully. Early on, the series brought back beloved Mayberry figures like Barney Fife, Goober, and Emmett. Here's the strange, almost dreamlike twist. Andy Griffith was not playing Sheriff Andy Taylor at all. He was Mayor Andy Sawyer, a different man in a different town. Yet, those returning characters treated him as if he were the Andy they had always known. As if the years had folded in on themselves for a moment. Some fans found it comforting, others found it disorienting. Like walking into your childhood home and realizing the furniture has been moved. That creative gamble tells you how hard the show was trying to honor a legend while still starting over. And next, we step into the writer's room, where that balancing act grew even heavier. Fact number 9. A show born from a time-slot emergency. The new Andy Griffith Show did not arrive like a carefully wrapped gift. It arrived like a quick decision made under bright network lights. In the fall of 1970, Griffith tried a serious role in a drama called Headmaster, and it failed fast. CBS pulled it after only a short run, then replaced it immediately with this new comedy on the same Friday night schedule, beginning January 8th, 1971. You can almost feel the pivot, a network scrambling, a star returning to what felt safer. Later accounts note that Griffith himself believed Headmaster's sour reputation made audiences less willing to try the new series, even though the tone had changed completely. Fact number 8. Cancelled while it was still on the air. There is a quiet cruelty in how this series ended. Viewers saw the new Andy Griffith Show run from January 8 to May 21st, 1971, as if it had a normal season. But the decision had already been made much earlier. According to the show's documented production history, CBS canceled it on March 12, 1971, after 10 episodes were produced, then let those same 10 installments keep repeating on the schedule through May. So, while families at home were still meeting Greenwood, the cast and crew already knew the door was closing. That changes the feeling of those later broadcasts. The jokes land the same, but the room behind the camera is different. You can imagine the last tapings, the polite smiles, the sense that everyone is finishing a sentence that will not get a second paragraph. And next, we go even closer to the set, to the town itself, and the very deliberate choice to make it larger than Mayberry, in a way that may have cost the show its safest magic. Fact number 7. The old crew trying to rebuild the old feeling. On paper, CBS did something very tender. They did not just call Andy Griffith back, they called back part of the sound of his earlier world. The new series was created and produced by Aaron Rubin, and 2 of its key writers were James Fritzl and Everett Greenbaum, all names tied to the first show's steady, human rhythm. Even the music was entrusted again to Earl Hagen, the composer whose cues once made Mayberry feel like a place you could breathe in. The show's own history notes it was closer in tone to Griffith's earlier success, even sharing some writers and music director Earl Hagen. But here is the ache. You can rehire the hands and still not recapture the quiet spell. Greenwood was written as a bigger town, closer to a small city, and the stories had to move faster to fill it. The craft was there, but the room around it had changed, and audiences felt that difference. Next, one particular casting choice brought a different kind of energy into Andy's home. Fact number 6. The wife chosen for his second act. When a star returns to television, the most delicate casting is often the person who stands beside him at the kitchen table. For this show, CBS paired Andy Griffith with Lee Meriwether as his on-screen wife, Lee Sawyer. It was not a random match. The two had already played opposite each other in the 1969 film Angel in My Pocket, and the new sitcom leaned into that existing ease, a kind of quiet shorthand between performers who already knew each other's timing. Meriwether brought a different presence than the memory of Mayberry suggested. She was polished, modern, and bright, which made Greenwood feel like a town trying to step into the 1970s with its collar straightened. That choice also meant the series could not simply drift back into old habits. It had to build a new family dynamic from scratch, in front of an audience still listening for echoes. And next, we turn to the extra family member in the house, a character designed to stir the calm, and sometimes to test the audience's patience. Fact number 5, the day Glenn Campbell walked into Greenwood. Early in the run, the show made a very 1971 move. It invited a real, current music star to step right into the story. Episode 2 is literally titled Get Me Glenn Campbell, and it aired January 15th, 1971, only a week after the premiere. On the surface, it is a light idea, a small town chasing a famous name. But behind the curtain, it reveals what CBS and the producers were trying to do. They were not only chasing Mayberry's old warmth, they were also chasing the present moment, hoping a familiar voice from radio and television variety stages could pull new eyes toward Andy Griffith's return. That familiar voice belonged to Glenn Campbell, one of the most recognizable entertainers in America at the time. There is something a little poignant about that strategy. A show built on quiet character comedy suddenly needs a headline guest to steady its footing. You can almost hear the network note, softly spoken. Give them something they recognize right now. Next, we look at the house itself, and the additional adult character placed inside it, meant to spark friction, and to reshape Andy's world from the inside out. Fact number 4. The live-in relative who changed the air in the room. Every warm television household has its temperature, and this one was set by a deliberate choice. CBS did not just give Andy Sawyer a wife and 2 children. They placed another adult under the same roof. Her name was Nora, Lee's sister, written as a constant presence, described as complaining, neurotic, meddling, and superstitious. That was not background seasoning. That was a storm system. It meant Andy could not simply glide through problems as the calm center of town. He had to negotiate his own living room, again and again, with someone who questioned, fretted, and stirred the quiet. And they cast Anne Morgan Gilbert to do it. Audiences already knew her sharp, modern sitcom rhythm from The Dick Van Dyke Show. You can feel the intent that Greenwood was trying to be bigger than Mayberry, and the home was trying to be busier, louder, and more restless. The show was reaching for a new kind of comedy, even if viewers were still listening for the old hush. Next, we follow that same idea out the front door, to the town council, and the kind of small city politics the series wanted to play with. Fact number 3, a mayor, not a sheriff, and a town too big for whispered stories. The heart of the experiment was hidden in one simple choice. Andy was no longer the lawman who kept the peace. He was installed as mayor pro tem, a man who had to persuade instead of enforce. And the town was not Mayberry's gentle handful of streets. Greenwood was written as a small city in North Carolina, with a population just under 13,000, noticeably larger than Mayberry. That size matters. A town that big brings committees, favors, egos, and public meetings that do not end with a smile and a handshake. The show even stocked the council with personalities, like Buff McKnight and Mrs. Gossage, figures who could turn local government into domestic comedy. In a way, Greenwood was the 1970s knocking on the courthouse door. The series wanted Andy to grow up with the country, to trade porch swings for procedure. But for viewers who came seeking quiet, the new job title may have felt like losing a familiar coat. And next, we come to the episode that tried to make Greenwood feel like a place, by centering the town itself. Fact number 2, the ratings fell, week by week, like a light dimming. The saddest stories in television are not always loud. Sometimes they are told in quiet numbers. The new Andy Griffith Show opened with what looked, at first, like a hopeful start. Contemporary reporting on its early Nielsen performance notes the premiere ranked 12th. Then the second week slipped. Then the third week slipped again. And by the fourth week, it was out of the top 40. That kind of slide is not just competition. It is a message from the room. Viewers sampled the return, then drifted away. And it happened during the very moment CBS was turning its face toward younger, urban, more sophisticated audiences. The larger shift often associated with the early 1970s rural purge. You can picture the set still warm, the cast still doing their best work, while the network's attention quietly moves elsewhere. And now, for fact 1, we come to the deeper reason this comeback could never fully relax. It was carrying the weight of a perfect memory. Fact number 1, the weight of a perfect memory. By 1971, Andy Griffith was not just returning to television. He was returning to a feeling people had carried for years. The original The Andy Griffith Show had made small-town life look gentle, honest, and close-knit. That memory was still bright in many living rooms. So when the new Andy Griffith Show asked viewers to accept Andy Sawyer, a different man installed as mayor pro tem of Greenwood, a town written as much larger than Mayberry, it also asked them to loosen their grip on the past. Then the show made a daring, almost aching choice. In the premiere, old Mayberry friends like Barney, Goober, and Emmett appeared. They treated Sawyer as if he were Sheriff Andy Taylor. It was comfort and confusion in the same breath. That is the quiet tragedy of this short run. The series tried to be new, while standing in the shadow of something already beloved. And when the shadow is that large, even good intentions can feel like a remake of a memory. Some shows become legends because they last. Others become quiet mysteries because they do not. The new Andy Griffith Show is one of those softer stories. A brief return, a different town, the same familiar voice trying to find the right porch to sit on. And when the screen went dark in 1971, it left behind not failure, but a gentle reminder. Even the most beloved memories can be hard to revisit, because time keeps rewriting the world outside the frame.